Hi, I'm Cindy Halpern, and I want to talk about when I went to Budapest in 2008. I actually went from Vienna. It was actually a trip to Vienna and Prague and Budapest. And in Vienna, you know, my mom was from Vienna. I was well treated there. In Prague, it was better than well treated there. They really pampered me. But I went to Budapest on the train. I was warned right away not to take public transportation, but I didn't listen to that. And the cab took me from the train station to the hotel, and he was going to charge me triple the fare, and I protested, and he stopped, and he dropped me in the middle of the street there, and he put his fist to my face, and I screamed, and 3 Americans came and protected me, and he left me there in the middle of the street. And actually the Americans left too, and I had to go past 4 lanes of traffic to get to the hotel. And I went to the hotel to complain, and they said it was a private company and that there was nothing I could do. So that was a rotten beginning to this day. And I went to Doheny Synagogue, and that was fine. They didn't really know their own history there. And I went in the backyard, courtyard, where the mass graves were of Jews that were murdered during the Holocaust. And I went to a Jewish restaurant. It was Orthodox though, and it didn't really go well. Then it was time to go back, and I actually hailed a cab from the street, and actually it was okay. When I got to the airport, I went to the counter, and it wasn't really American Airlines. It was an airline subsidized by American Airlines, and they looked at my ticket, they looked at my passport, and they looked at my luggage and said, no, you can't go for 2 days. I said, well, what's the problem? And they really tell me the problem. So we'll put you in a hotel and this, and I said, no, I want to go home. And they said no. So I didn't know what to do. So I went to the British Airlines counter, and I told them, and the lady said, well, it's probably a misunderstanding. Why don't I take you over and get it straightened out? So she took me over, and they gave her the same story. Her passport, the luggage, my ticket. And she looked, she said, there's nothing wrong with her passport, and there's nothing wrong with her ticket, and there's nothing wrong with her luggage. And they just said they weren't going to do it. And then she went and she got her supervisor from British Airways to try to straighten it. They couldn't straighten it out for me either. And they said, you know what? There's something fishy going on here. We're going to help you. You're going to go through London anyhow to connect with American Airlines back to Boston. So we'll just book you on one of our flights. And what about the expense? They said, no, we'll transfer the ticket. We're able to do that. They don't want to board you, so we have a legitimate right to help you. And you know, it was very odd. And then when just before I was boarding, those other people from the other airline came over to me and started bothering me again, saying, well, your ticket's not right in this and the British Airlines counselor says, she's all set. She's got a ticket with us. We switched her ticket out. There's nothing to do with you anymore. Leave her alone. They kept bothering me. And finally, British Airlines boarded me first. I wasn't first class. They said, you know what, we're going to get you on the plane. I don't know what's going on here, but you're being targeted for some reason. And so they boarded me first. And they took my luggage, and they carried my luggage on. They didn't, you know, try to stow it or anything. And even when I was leaving, I could see the lady arguing with them, with British Airlines, that they shouldn't have boarded me and this and that. And they got sick of it already. And it wasn't even more helping me anymore. It was more out of aggravation that they were interfering with I was then their customer. I was re-ticketed from British Airways, and they just didn't like that. And so I went back to London, and I had to change buildings to get on American Airlines. And I complained to American Airlines actually in London. They said, you know, they really aren't even subsidized by us. We don't even have a counter there. They just, you know, we have an agreement with them. They're not part of us. And I told them all the trouble. They said, that doesn't make sense. You know, we screened your passport. There's nothing wrong with your passport. We looked at your luggage. There's nothing wrong with your luggage. We looked at your, you know, everything was legitimate. They had no reason to hold you there in London. They said, you know, we're going to investigate that. We're telling people from American Airlines not to book through that subsidiary anymore. It's not really a good idea. And I don't know what would have happened to me. I think I would have disappeared, probably been murdered or robbed. But they were targeting me for sure. I mean, it was so obvious. And, you know, I'm just grateful to British Airlines for protecting me and those Americans that protected me. And, you know, Budapest, for a lone Jewish woman, no tour, no family, nothing, I wouldn't recommend you going to Budapest unless you maybe speak the language, which I obviously don't. My mother was a Viennese Jew. My father's people were from Kiev. My father's American, so obviously I really had no connection to Budapest except I wanted to find out the historical history of Wallenberg and how he helped the Jews. And, you know, there was graffiti in Budapest, very anti-Semitic graffiti, and you're wise not to go there. It's not a good place. I wouldn't visit it.